So now that we've got our introduction to the workspace, got our files kind of organized on a thumb drive, now we're able to go in and actually start working on bringing footage into Premiere Pro. So again, like there are different ways that you can do this. I'm just going to show you kind of the easiest way to do it. So remember that the files that you're going to edit, so the assets that you're bringing in, which can be still JPEG type images, Photoshop images, they can be video files, they can be sound files, they can be all kinds of different things you can bring in and use in Premiere. You're going to want to make sure you have the project palette open here, right? And then you want to go up here to File, and then you want to go down to Import. So importing is what they call it when you bring the files in. And remember that all these sort of pieces of software are linking pieces of software, right? So they are basically it's making a link from the computer software program, so the Adobe Premiere file is linking to your assets. So it's not going to actually bring them in and keep them in the file, or else your file would be enormous with all that video footage, right? It's just going to link to them. And then Premiere Pro is going to give you a representation of what your edit looks like. So it's going to give you kind of like a preview representation. Sometimes you'll notice the quality isn't great because your computer is slower or it doesn't have a lot of RAM, so it can't give you the full preview, but it's going to give you kind of like the gist of what this thing is going to look like. But it isn't real until you bake it in the oven. I like to call it till you sort of export that thing out. So we're going to import first, make all of our edits, and then we're going to export out, and then your final product will be strung together the way that you've told Adobe Premiere to do it. So hopefully you have your files organized in a way that makes sense. If you go in here into this thumb drive that I've got on my computer, and then I open up the raw video files, I'm just going to pick these and I'm just going to click import. So I'll make sure I shift click or just make sure they're all selected and click import, and it's going to just bring those in. So now I have these pieces of footage in here, and you'll see that they kind of have a little icon here, and each one of them is its own thing. And if I just double click on one, it will let me see it, and I can move the playhead along here, which is what we call this. This playhead here is the thing that we use to kind of scroll back and forth in the timeline, and it's just going to show me, okay, that's what that piece of footage looks like. But I haven't really done anything with the footage yet, right? I've just imported it in. So again, really important that you do this. And then you want to remember that if I go back into my thumb drive, and let's say I go in here and I change this one to a new name, like and I change it, so I'm changing it in there, and then I do that. Now if I go here, it's going to tell me it can't find that file, right? Because this was the name of the file that I had for that particular piece of footage when I imported it, and now I've changed the name, and Adobe Premiere is like, hey, this link is broken, right? I can't find it. I don't know where it went. What do you want me to do? And it's not going to be smart enough to like figure it all out for you. Sometimes it can find things, but most of the time this is going to be a problem. So that's why you don't want to mess with things after you have, after you've imported them. So you want to like place it all in the file, in your thumb drive file and that folder, name it the way you want it to be named, and then import it, and then you're not going to have any problems. So what I would probably do now is I would just delete this one. So I'll highlight it and click on the garbage. I'll go back in here and I'll go back to import again, and I'll go to this one and click import, and now it'll bring it in, and it's not a problem, right? So if you ever get broken links, it just means that either you've moved files around or you've changed their names, and just the Premiere or After Effects or whatever program you're using can't find that. The link is just broken. It's not going anywhere. So it's really important you remember that. And it's important to remember that Premiere is a non-destructive, non-linear editing program, which just means that it's not actually doing anything to these files that are in here, right? So it's not editing them or chopping them up or anything. It's just giving me a representation of what those chopped up things are going to look like as I work, and then it'll export it out, and that'll be the final product. So it's really important to try to remember that as you're working with these things. So I would suggest you go ahead and get your stuff organized, name it, import it into your into Premiere, and then we want to save this. So this will be the last thing I want you to do for this particular step. Will just be to go up here to File, and go to File, and then go to Save As. And Adobe's going to give you lots of options, like you may or may not see this, like yours might look like this. But remember, you can always just click these little down arrows here, and then you can see the full menu. And again, I want to save this on my thumb drive, right? I don't want to put it someplace else. I don't want to save it into the Adobe Cloud unless I really know what I'm doing there. So I'm going to click on my thumb drive here. I'm going to click on this project, and I'm going to title this something like so just going to name the Premiere project. I'm going to click Save, and it'll save it. So now if I go back in here and I look at my thumb drive, right, there's the video. So now this thing is saved alongside all of my assets and everything, and it's all portable. So if I unplug this thumb drive and take it to a different computer, I can just plug it right in and work on it like no problem. If you don't have all of this stuff bundled together in the same spot, when you move it, you're going to lose all those links. And then you just want to reflexively hit Command S if you're on a Mac, or Control S, I think it is on a PC, whichever one it is, and just constantly be saving your project as you work on it, so that if it crashes or something, you don't lose the work that you were doing. So just, again, I always tell everyone, just hit Command S when all else fails. Just, if you can't think about what else to do, hit Command S, and that'll keep you safe. So there you go. So make sure you import all your stuff, get it all organized and ready, and then you'll be ready to do the next step.